CBS 5 Investigates uncover new information in the case of two missing children from Chandler.
We have learned that a big life insurance policy is involved in this crazy and confusing story.
Yeah, several people now tangled up in a web of murder, missing kids, and scandal. And now most of them are dead or haven't been seen again.
Chief investigative reporter Morgan Lowe has details you will only see here.
Fire department, what is the address of the emergency?
The 911 call came in at just after 8:30 in the morning, July 11th.
I got in a fight with my brother-in-law and I shot him in self-defense.
A man named Alex Cox calmly stating he had just shot and killed his brother-in-law in self-defense. A Chandler police body cam captured what happened when officers arrived on the scene.
You know, no weapons? No weapons on me. All right, come on out this way. I'm going to have you have a seat right here on the curb.
And what they saw when they entered the home.
Chandler Police Department, anybody inside, make yourself known.
Empty rooms, mattresses on the bedroom floors, a handgun, and the body of 62-year-old Charles Vallow laying on the ground in the living room. Outside, police questioned the shooter.
You know, what happened today, though? Like, just in the last 20 minutes.
He came at me with a bat. I turned around, and he hit me in the back of the head with a bat. So I went to my room and got my gun.
Did you stay in your bedroom?
No.
Okay, why didn't you stay just in your bedroom, close the door? Is that something you didn't think about, or?
It didn't even occur to me. And he came at me with the bat again after he'd already hit me in the head, so I shot him to stop him.
Okay.
The audio is muted during the police interview with Charles Vallow's wife, Lori, and his stepdaughter, Tylee. But the police report indicates they relayed similar stories. There was an argument between Charles and Lori. Tylee came out of her room with a bat. Charles took the bat, struck Lori's brother Alex. Alex shot Charles in self-defense. But Charles' family believes something else happened.
They ambushed him.
That was a setup.
And it will come out. It will come out. It was an ambush. No doubt in my mind.
Kay and Larry Woodcock are Charles Vallow's sister and brother-in-law, and they believe Charles' wife, Lori, wanted him dead.
She was so spoiled, it was ridiculous. And he did. He spoiled her, and she became a monster. Just a monster.
Court paperwork obtained by CBS 5 Investigates paints a picture of turmoil surrounding Lori Vallow in the months before the shooting. Lori up and left her family for 2 months in February of 2019. She cleared out their bank account. She said she was receiving spiritual revelations and visions, told Charles she would kill him and destroy him financially, and began obsessing over an author of doomsday books who lived in Idaho.
What can you tell me about Chad Daybell?
Chad Daybell is an interesting character.
Rich Robertson is a private investigator hired by Charles and Lori's relatives. He describes Daybell's religious beliefs and followers as a cult.
Even though he was up in Idaho and she was down here, there seemed to be a very, very close, almost intimate relationship between the two.
Except for two problems. Lori was married and Chad was also married.
Yeah, they were both married, and interestingly, both of their spouses wound up dead in a very short time from each other.
According to the obituary, Tamara Daybell died in her sleep October 19th. Weeks later, Chad and Lori were married in Rexburg, Idaho. By November, relatives were starting to worry. Lori's two children, 7-year-old JJ and 17-year-old Tylee, hadn't been seen in months.
Rexburg police went out and contacted Lori, who was with Chad at that point, and asked about the kids. And Lori said, "They're not here. They're with my friend in Arizona." So we contacted the police here and asked them to do the welfare check on the kids. And that's when the friend said, they're not here, and they haven't been here. So at that point, somebody was lying.
Where are your children?
Lori and Chad have refused to answer any questions from the press or police. Lori's brother, Alex, is now suspected of trying to kill another relative, a shooting in October. 10 years ago, he was convicted of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon against Lori's previous husband. That man died unexpectedly in 2018. And Alex Cox himself was found dead in his Gilbert home in December. That brings us back to the beginning of our story. a fatal shooting in Chandler.
The Charles Vallow death. You have Lori, who was there and saw what happened.
Right.
You have Alex, who was there and pulled the trigger, but he's dead now. And Tylee, the other witness, is missing.
Tylee certainly was a witness to Charles' shooting, and if anybody knows what really happened, if there is a different story to tell, it could have been Tylee to tell that story. Does that have anything to do with why she is missing? I certainly hope not, but you got to consider that as a possibility.
CBS 5 Investigates has learned of a potentially critical new piece of information that has never been reported before. According to two sources with firsthand knowledge of Charles Vallow's personal finances, he had a sizable life insurance policy. But that was news to Chandler police when we asked them about it last week.
Are your detectives aware that there might have been a money motive involved in this?
Not that I'm aware of. It's the first I'm hearing about it.
Maybe that there was a life insurance policy on Charles Vallow?
Nothing in our report, basically, from what I've read and what I've talked to detectives, has that information that I'm aware of.
According to Sergeant Jason McClymans, detectives are still processing evidence, so the case is still open. But he says everything still points to self-defense.
So we have a shooter, Alex Cox, who's dead, but the investigation is still open. Does that mean that it's a possibility that somebody else could have been involved in this, or there's another theory other than just self-defense?
I cannot get into that at this point, at that time, because the investigation is still open, so I can't answer that question at this time.
Charles, he's just not that way.
Larry and Kay Woodcock say Charles did not have it in him to get violent with anybody. So the idea that he attacked Alex is a non-starter.
You can't fight with someone who's not going to fight back.
They believe the real story of what happened inside that Chandler home in July will come out someday. They and the rest of the family are praying that JJ and Tylee turn up soon.
Why don't the police just arrest Lori and Chad and take them into custody?
That's obviously a question for the police.
Had we had probable cause in July, or up until the point where these kids are missing, I assure you we probably would have made an arrest.
And at this point in time, there are no criminal charges filed in any of these cases, not the deaths and not the disappearance of Tylee and JJ. If you want to take a deeper dive into this story, we've created a family tree here, a timeline of the events that will answer all of your questions. You can find it on our mobile app and at azfamily.com/go-to/missing-kids.
So many aspects to this case. It is absolutely fascinating. Morgan Lowe, thank you. And from up north in Idaho to here in Arizona and now Hawaii. Our crews have been all over the map investigating this case.
And as we speak, our Kim Powell is on her way to Hawaii to continue digging and uncover new information.